Good Saturday morning. I'm KHU meteorologist Chris Ramirez. The current time is 11:02 a.m. and we are giving you a weather update on what to expect for the rest of the evening as we celebrate our Valentine's Day. We're going to see mostly hit or miss showers through much of the day, and then we're expecting the line of storms to move through later on this evening. And so the time frame 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. more so around 7 to 9 p.m. is when we're going to start seeing those storms move through Houston proper. So we're going to have to really be on the lookout for possible tornadoes with these storms, as well as that wind and damaging hail threat. So if you're asking yourself what's the forecast going to be like for our Valentine's Day evening, as you might want to wait 2 hours for those restaurants, it's going to be quite stormy out there. So just take this forecast into consideration when you determine your Valentine's Day evening plans, because we're going to expect to see those evening conditions start becoming a little bit more widespread when it comes to the storms by 7 to 9 p.m. 5 p.m. we could see a bit more showers than what we're looking at right now as we get closer towards the noon hour. Here's a live look at Bush Airport. We're not looking at any issues right now, but 72 degrees right now. Radar is looking mostly quiet. We are getting a little bit of a break from this rain that's currently happening. There is some showers and some storms that are just off to the west towards San Antonio along I-10, but just keep an eye on what we're looking at. The big picture here, it's these line of storms that are currently making their way into west central Texas. This is our big storm chance that's going to be heading into our region within the next few hours. And so we're looking at that right now. Usually when it comes to these weather systems, we can kind of get a hint of how strong these storms are going to be. I'm also looking outside right now and we see that sunshine. The sunshine really does a good job at fueling severe storm activity. So seeing the sun isn't a good sign right now when it comes to the storm threat. And as our day warms up, and that does include for portions of West Texas or West Central Texas, we're starting to see a bit more lightning with these storms as they're making their way closer to the I-35 corridor. And so what that means is that those storms are strengthening and they are heading into the Houston area later on this evening. But we still have a good few hours, a good maybe 7 to 8 hours before they make it into our area. But we are expecting future track really to show more of these widespread rain chances as we get closer to 4:35 p.m. That's when we're going to start seeing that rain become a bit more moderate to heavy. But then once we get closer towards maybe 5 to 6 p.m., if you are in our northern areas, maybe if you're in Tomball, Magnolia, even the Woodlands, Huntsville, College Station, Bryan, that's where you're expecting to see those storms to make it into your area, at least by 6:30. By 7 to 8 o'clock p.m., that's when we're expecting these storms to make it into the Houston area for today. And then that is going to really be the primary threat of some very heavy rain, dangerous lightning, some possible strong storms with that as it makes its way into Houston. And so we're going to have to really keep an eye on the forecast and on the weather situation later on this evening in case one of these storms does cause a tornado warning to pop up going into this evening. And as we get closer towards 9:30, 10 o'clock, we are expecting the storms to make their way into the Galveston area. And then by 11 p.m. to midnight, storms racing off to the east and out of our area by later on today. So definitely things are a little quiet right now. And I know it seems like the sun is making its appearance, but we do have an unstable atmosphere. And so when we have that unstable atmosphere and when you add in the sunshine, it really does cause those temps to start rising. And that does do a good job at fueling severe storm activity, especially when it comes to what we have coming our way. And we're able to see that on radar right now out in central Texas. So our tornado threat for today. This is the Storm Prediction Center's tornado outlook. I know you might be looking at the 10% and 2% and think that that's not really a big number, but it really is they go by 2% to up to 60% and up to significant. So usually when we get like a 10%, which is probably a level 3, that's a bit elevated. That's kind of giving us a hint that this is going to see more of an elevated risk for a tornado or two as we go into this afternoon when it comes to those line of storms as they're making their way into the area. So where you see the 2%, that's more of a lower risk, more isolated risk for a tornado or two as we go into this evening. But also this is the hail threat. So they're giving us a 5%, that's more of a isolated risk. So that's 5, you have 15, 30, 45. No, it's a little confusing, but just bear with me here when it comes to these outlooks. So there is going to be a risk for some large hail with some of these storms as we head into this evening. So just keep that in mind as well as we progress through the next few hours. So this is all thanks to that low pressure system that's making its way into Texas right now. It's causing some showers and storms. That's going to be racing off towards the east. Once that clears, we have high pressure system more in place for our Sunday, and eventually we will see the return of pleasant, sunny skies, highs in the 70s, lows in the 50s, so we are going to be a little bit cooler out there. But as we go into the next few hours, we're just going to see a rather wet and stormy Valentine's Day today, and you want to make sure to plan out your evening. Maybe just stay indoors, you know, not really be out in the elements, because we're going to see a rather stormy outlook later on today, especially as our models are sort of in agreement that we're going to see more of these widespread storms. So weather impact alert for today, more so between the hours of 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. I know that that's a big time window, but it's 5 p.m. is when we're going to start seeing that rain chance become a bit more heavy, and it's going to be likely between 7 to 9 p.m. is when the major line of storms will be moving into the Houston area, and so there is going to be that tornado, wind, and large hail threat with it. So you could really see some evening travel impacts with that, and you don't want to be caught outdoors or caught in an area that floods, especially later on this evening. So just kind of keep this in mind as we go into our evening. So 5 p.m. Can't emphasize this enough. If you have those dinner plans, hopefully you, if you do have reservations, probably just be extra cautious out there if you have to drive in the rain, because by 5 p.m. it's going to be mostly rainy, but 7 to 9, that's when we're going to start seeing that storm risk moving into our area for today as we go into looking at the situation. So this is a live look right now. That was at Bush Airport, but this is looking across Southeast Texas. I know we were tracking the sunshine that we're looking at. We're seeing that sun sort of make its appearance here in the Galleria area across Restheimer. We're still pretty cloudy in other locations. Galveston, look at the parade of vehicles. I think that's Mardi Gras. I think they're moving in. I think the parade's actually happening right now here in Galveston as they are having the Mardi Gras parade. But just keep in mind that we will see those hit or miss rain chances in the initial line of storms. I think if you are heading to Galveston, I don't think they're really looking at more of the widespread showers that we're looking at in our inland areas. But just keep in mind that when it comes to this evening, that all changes. We are all going to be under the gun for more of those stronger storms to that severe weather threat for later on today. I'm going to show you our future track one more time. Rain becoming a bit more moderate to heavy by 4:35 p.m., but it's right when you see those line of storms that are making it into Austin, even towards Bryan College Station. That is going to be tracking in towards the Gulf. So as we look at that situation, we're going to see them become stronger as we get closer towards 8 to 9, and that's when they're expected to move through the Houston area, eventually heading into Galveston by 9:30 to 10 p.m. So keep that in mind if you are heading out to Galveston later on today, but it's going to be looking like a rather stormy evening for us here across the area. And I know you're probably thinking, hey, how do you know that this is going to happen? But we usually get a sign of that when it comes to these weather systems by taking a look at what's happening out west, especially out towards central Texas and portions of North Texas. And we're actually seeing those line of storms making it in closer towards closing in on the I-35 corridor. There is some lightning with those storms, and so that really does show that they are strengthening, and there is some heavy rain and storms happening in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So this initial line of storms is actually making it closer into heading towards Houston as we progress throughout the evening and throughout the day there. So looking at that, we are expecting it to be a little bit of an active weather evening for us here across the Houston area, so just be extra cautious. Still keep your plans, I think. I know, keep your plans, don't cancel anything, but just make sure that those notifications are on so that you can get the latest updates on what our weather models are showing for later on this evening, because we are expecting a little bit of a stormy outlook for this evening, and it's the reason why we've issued a weather impact alert for today. We don't have any issues for next week. We're going to be mostly sunny, highs in the 70s, lows in the 50s, but we are expecting this little low pressure system that's making its way into Texas. That's just really the cause of our atmosphere becoming unstable. And also, it's also the reason why the Storm Prediction Center is including us under a slight risk for severe weather. That is a 2 out of 5 when it comes to that Saturday or when it comes to the evening threat. So even the Storm Prediction Center out in Norman, Oklahoma, that's where they're based, are giving us a 2 out of 5. And they are including isolated tornadoes, gusty winds, and isolated hail with that, as we head into later on this evening. So definitely expecting more of a window of calmness right now. We're not looking at any showers on radar here in Houston. There are more so in our outlying areas. We had some moderate rain earlier. We're getting a little bit of a break. I think we have a shower actually making its way into the Bush Airport area. I want to see if we can actually look at that currently right now. We have our camera on top of World Houston near the Bush Airport, and this is actually showing the conditions right there along one of the major runways across Bush Airport. I don't really see any rain on this camera as of now, but there is some showers that are about to move into the Bush Airport area pretty soon, and we are expecting those conditions to remain mostly calm for now, but we are going to see that rain chance ultimately start increasing as we progress throughout our afternoon and evening. And so just keep in mind that even though it is calm right now, that's not the case for areas out west. We have those line of storms moving closer towards Houston, and we do have some lightning with it. Right now I'm not looking at any severe storms, but as we warm up later this afternoon, the warming trend of our day really does a good job at fueling that thunderstorm potential, and that's what we're going to have to look out for. So for the next 7 days, stormy day today, unfortunately for our Valentine's Day, but we are expecting mostly sunny conditions for this next week. Maybe if you don't want to do anything for Valentine's Day, maybe use that as an excuse. The meteorologist said is that there's going to be a stormy day, so we can't do anything. Highs in the 70s, lows in the 50s. Weather impact alert for today for evening conditions, but expecting mostly sunny conditions as we head into this next week. And we're going to be off to pleasant conditions for next week with highs in the 70s and overnight lows in the 50s. So have a good rest of your day and be extra weather aware this afternoon as we head into later this evening. Have a good rest of your day.